Good evening everybody and welcome to my Christmas press conference. I look forward to some of the questions in store. Fire away.
A lot of other teams are asking the question as to whether Reality FC will play them in a friendly in pre-season in 2015.
If you're interested in playing Reality FC in a friendly over the pre-season from 2015-2016, May, June, July, please do get in contact with us, whether that's via YouTube or Facebook, and be willing to travel to West London to where we're based to play us, and we'll get the games videoed and get them on YouTube for everybody to see.
Club captain John Finn asks, why does he try and kick balls at head height and head balls at knee height?
John Finn's question relates to the previous game played where there was well, I'll be quite frank, it was quite obvious that I made a couple of absolute howlers in that game and I had a complete mare. I can't justify what I did at the time. It looked like the right thing to do. Probably should have had the ball, but I kicked it. Well, I tried to kick it. And before there's a question about the penalty, I still think I got something on the ball and it wasn't a penalty.
William Tyrrell has a question. What player do you think has made the most progress this season so far?
That's a good question. I'm going to go for Joe Bennett. Joe Bennett looked a bit rusty maybe to start with. He hadn't played 11-a-side for a while, but he's had a run of about 3 or 4 games in the centre of midfield, getting a bit of a partnership going with Josh, and I think Joe's been excellent. Microphone, the commentator in a previous game, compared his style of play and his passing range to Steven Gerrard, and yeah, I'd echo that. He was amazing the last time he played. Joe's got a good and lengthy career at the club if he continues his form the way he's going.
You mentioned the commentator, Mike Raffone. Is that his real name?
Yes, Mike Raffone is his real name. Maybe one day we'll get to meet Mike Raffone, but for now he just stays the voice on the screen that you hear when you're watching the videos.
Former Reality FC player Lewis Whitfield asks on the Facebook page, if you could have one player back who used to play for Reality, who would it be? Jason Null, Stuart Juice, Lewis Whitfield, Ricky Smith, and the list goes on.
Well, Lewis himself there. I would like to also mention he used to be a former captain of Reality FC and was excellent when he played for us. Obviously that's a lengthy list of players he's mentioned. There's many more you could add to that list. Rob Range, Rob Taylor, Dan Medley, plenty of people. But if I'm going to be quite honest, it'll be Lewis himself I'd have back. I wasn't manager myself when Lewis was at the club. It was the previous manager, but Lewis was excellent at the back. He was absolutely amazing. He got man of the match umpteen times. His average rating when we used to do ratings back then was through the roof. I was somewhere close to 10. He was the reason we kept so many clean sheets. He was absolutely amazing for us, and yeah, I'd bite my left arm and my right leg off to have him back. So yeah, the answer to that question is I'd have Lewis Whitfield back.
Keith Lyons asks on the Facebook page, how much are you missing Sam Budina?
Sam's going to be a massive loss for us. He was an excellent goalkeeper when he started at Reality. I gave him the licence and pushed him further forward and gave him a run out in up front and also midfield, and he was excellent. He was an absolute terror for defences, so I obviously missed. And if Sam ever was to come back to England, I'd bite my left arm and my left leg off that I had left to get him back in the team as well.
Evan Hyam Gray asks on Facebook, do you think pushing Milad up to striker for a game would work out? Lee doesn't score enough.
A bit harsh on Lee. Would just raise the fact that Lee is Reality's top goal scorer for the season so far. It might only be with measly 4 goals, or it might only be 3 actually. But either way, he's scored 200% more than anyone else has scored. So yeah, no, undoubtedly in a game, especially some cup games, it would be a worthwhile use of Milad's pace, stick him up front. They'd be able to terrorise some centre backs, but it probably wouldn't be a move I'd look to do straight from the start of the game, because Milad is deadly from the right wing, running at a left back.
Martin Officer makes a statement on Facebook. He says, need to get players that can defend and 2 centre backs. The back 4 lack pace and height. Last week's game was down to the poor display by Mr. Cox.
If you follow YouTube and you watch Reality FC on YouTube, you will see the abuse I've been getting. What's football if you can't have a nightmare? The whole idea of it is people have good games and people have bad games. I had a bad game last week. There's no shying away from that. As for his question, we did lack a lot of pace in that game. I don't think we necessarily lacked height, but we definitely lacked a lot of pace, which is something that sadly I can't do anything about if I don't have the required players available who have a bit of pace.
Thunderlips1987 on YouTube says, Cox must play, he sorts the kit.
You know, I take that as part of my role as player manager to do the kit. I don't expect anything from that. But you know, I don't necessarily think I'm the worst player in Reality FC squad, and I do think I bring something to the team as a whole. When I'm on my game, just 2 weeks ago I wasn't on my game, and I put my hands up to that.
Thunderlips1987 also says on YouTube, that big lad at the back, Shinoda, doesn't get enough credit. Plays every game and seems solid. However, could do with a few hours on the treadmill like.
Bit harsh on Mike, he's got a bit of pace about him anyway. But no, he has been solid at left back when he's played. Missed a couple of games through unavailability, but when he's played there, you know, it's a good thing. Thunderlips has pointed that out, but the reason no one's picked up on it or mentioned it is because he has been solid. You know, nothing spectacular, but he's also not caused any problems. Mikey knows that. Mikey knows he's a player that the squad need.
Danny Dynamo 11 says, Anthony Cox lost you that game. Also, Christopher David Price says, Cox, that was horrendous, mate. Give it a rest.
What do I say to that?
Just James OK says, Cox, just be the manager. Hang the boots up. # legend.
Well, yeah, we don't need to go any more into the part of the # legend bit. We all know that. I won't be hanging up my boots anytime soon. I bring a lot more to the team than some players do, and I'll carry on doing that.
Anthony, can you explain what you were doing at the Emirates last week?
You may have saw a picture going around Facebook, #AFC Foundation, the Arsenal-Newcastle game. Chairman David Priest and myself, manager Anthony Cox. Actually, I was wearing this jumper at the time. It was Christmas jumper day at the Emirates, and we were there scouting for a new centre-back after the previous week's performance against FC Brentford. We thought we'd go on a bit of a scouting mission. Sadly, we didn't find anybody that fit the bill. Arsenal were already struggling enough, and in fact Wenger spoke to us in the tunnel afterwards and asked if he could borrow one of our centre-halves.
A few fans on YouTube are asking about possibility of signing for Reality and becoming players. Are you looking to sign new players?
This was a topic I was going to raise if the question wasn't asked. Over the past weeks, myself directly on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, we've received ample inquiries about joining Reality FC. At the moment with the squad we've got 31 players. I'm not looking to sign anybody for the current season unless there was a massive drop in injuries and unavailability, but I have been keeping note of everybody's details. Obviously it's time consuming to be able to reply to everybody's, but if you keep messaging us our details in May, June, when we're looking to organise our trials match for the end of July, August, we'll be in contact and invite you down.
On YouTube, Ryan MacArthur makes the comment that the arguing is what's killing it, as morale drops and players look for blame rather than responsibility. Mistakes are always going to happen at this level, not to mention the state of the pitch, so try forgiving and encouraging instead. What do you make of those comments?
Let's all be honest, we play Sunday League football for a reason. We're not Premier League standard. Everybody makes mistakes, and not just me, there's plenty of players that make mistakes. We play on awful pitches as part of Sunday League football. If you did notice at the end of the FC Brentford game, there was no arguments. There was encouragement from, at the time, matchday captain Rob Lamar, who encouraged the players, and it was an improvement. That's what we need to see more of. Getting on everybody's backs at the end of the game isn't always the best thing. I know it's not nice to lose, but it's even worse to lose and then have a massive argument after the game. We can address the problems and move on to next week, but a bit more encouragement and a bit of togetherness wouldn't go amiss, and it would probably help us going on to the next week's game.
Oliver Sutton on Facebook says, which opposing team has impressed you the most this season?
Well, there's one team that's impressed me with their talking, but not necessarily their play on the pitch, and that's AFC Bedfont. If you remember from our previous press conference, there was a lot of talk from them. The league, still haven't put a game on for us against them, but we'll see. As for on the pitch, probably FC Brentford. They've beaten us twice now. Once with 10 men. They've got a couple of really electrically quick guys up front. So I'd say, they've impressed me the most personally. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the running at the top of the table come the end of the season.
Club captain John Finn asks, does he like Raheem Sterling's new haircut?
Raheem Sterling. I'm an Arsenal fan. Don't like Liverpool. End that one.
Ashik Rumatala asks, what away ground is the worst so far this season?
Does it have to be an away ground? I think our home ground's been pretty atrocious, especially in the Popeye game. But an away ground, it'd probably be Coney Green where we played Rice at Rovers, where we lost 4-2 in the end. The pitch was bobbling all over. Ball was bobbling all over the place. The lines were hard to see. So yeah, we'd go for Coney Green where we played Rice at Rovers.
Lewis Murray asks, do you think Reality FC can go on a winning streak after the Christmas break?
That all depends on how many mince pies the players eat. Because some players have got a bit of history with food and stuff, so we'll have to see how that goes. Might bulk us up a little bit, make us a bit stronger in the tackle, make us a bit harder to get round, but we'll have to see.
If you were going to give a mince pie to one player, which player would it be?
Probably Dan Huppin. He needs to bulk up a little bit. Wouldn't go and miss Dan having a little bit of strength, and probably the only thing that's lacking from his game a little bit.
Lewis Murray is obviously a fan of Rob Lamar, and he asks, is Rob Lamar good enough to make a profession out of football?
Well, I've got to say no, because I don't want him to leave Reality FC. Rob is an excellent goalkeeper. He's been excellent for us this season. He's won us some games. He's kept us in games. Has a couple of things that I'm sure he knows he needs to improve on, which is his goal kicks. But apart from that, he's been excellent for us. So I'm sure if he pursued it at this late stage of his career, he'd be able to get a run out for a bit more of a professional team.